Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I'm Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. And today we have Jeremy Baker. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, good to be back.
Yes. Now, I know we're probably going to lose like 90% of our viewing audience here, but miscommunication and all that. Sarah Doneghy will not be with us today. Sorry, everybody. I know. You only come on here to see her, not me. I know. But
yeah, right.
anyways, today we're going to talk about something that has been this topic's mainly something that's been bothering me because I'm looking at all these laws that all these states are passing, taking away rights from people, taking away rights from women, taking away rights from the LGBTQIA community, banning books, just all these different things. And the consistent thing that I keep hearing from, especially people on the right, is that there's only two sexes. There's only two sexes. Biologically, there's only two sexes. Watch the show today because I'm going to prove them wrong. There's more than two sexes. I'm going to show you 10 sexes today. I'm going to show you the difference on what makes a human being what a human being is. And hopefully this might sink in and people will get a comprehension of why there are people that think that they might be a female or a male on the inside while their outside says the opposite, on why people are attracted to people of the same sex or multiple sexes. I am going to show you exactly why this is. Jeremy.
I'm here for educational purposes as well. Paul's going to teach me some stuff because I'm not well versed on this subject, which I'll be happy to admit. Again, I'm the guy that, you know what I mean? I believe you should love whoever you want to love. Our life is hard enough as it is. And it shouldn't matter, who you want to be with. It really shouldn't.
Exactly. I'm doing the quick share on the Twitter live right now. I'm making sure that everybody gets this. So just give me one moment here. And
okay.
There we go. All right. Now that that's out there. All right. We're going to start out with the comedy aspect. I'm going to bring a little Gary Owens to you on Richard Pryor's sexuality, something that a lot of people didn't know.
I did not know this until I saw this video, actually. So that's why I'm glad we're watching it.
Here we go. I'm only going to play like a minute. And just remember, this is already on YouTube. Somebody else has already put it up there. So I'm not making any money off of this or anything like that. Here we go.
Back where he exposed a lot of interesting tidbits. One of which said that Richard Pryor was bisexual.
But Richard Pryor said he was bisexual.
I guess in his book, when I interviewed T.K. Kirkland, he mentioned. So, what did you think about the gay accusations on Richard Pryor?
Let me say, have you ever read Richard Pryor's book?
I have not.
In Richard Pryor's book, I believe that happened, but because in his book it said this one thing. In his book, Richard Pryor was high and was having sex with a transvestite. It's in his book. When he got sober, he realized that the motherfucker still was a transvestite. He went back more days to spend the night with this person. True, it's in his book now. So anybody want to get upset with me or say something, read the Richard Pryor bio. It's in his book that he slept with a transgender. Well, the day is transgender. Back when we was coming up, there was transvestites.
What? Oh, it's ads.
I mean, I've heard that. I don't know, but I've heard that before. That wasn't like groundbreaking news in the comedy community.
So everyone knew that Richard Pryor was bisexual.
I don't know if he was bisexual. I think everybody just knew he had an experience.
Yeah. Like how he puts that.
Yes. Now, again, and it's not that it's anything new. Like he said, it's in his book. There's a lot of people that have had multiple sexual experiences in a lot of different ways with a lot of different people in a lot of different communities. And, you know, I think that Eddie Murphy was called out on it once. I think there's quite a few comedians that have, again, you also got to remember too that in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of this was hidden because of how people treat people that have different thoughts or ideas on their sexuality. And
yeah, I mean, why don't you talk about it more? Because back in the late 70s and 80s, the disco days, like cocaine days, like it was an era of experimentation. It's not like this whole sexuality thing is this groundbreaking new topic. It's been around since the dawn of man. But for
yes,
some reason, now these politicians and people online want to vilify or I don't know, whatever you want to say, want to make it a bad thing. You know what I mean? And if they do this they've done this with Mexicans now, and now they're doing it with the LGBTQ plus community. You know what I mean? They pick a group of people to hate, and then they hate them relentlessly for no reason at all. Why? Because they're different than them. Okay, so you don't agree with who they have sex with. How in the hell does that affect your life? Why are you even getting angry about who somebody else is having sex with? Do you understand? You know what I mean? And this whole transgender thing right now, my God, these people are acting like there's a group of uh penis and vagina cops running around chopping dicks off and giving people penises and stuff. Like they're acting this crazy, like this. They're forcing people. Nobody's forcing anybody to do anything. People just want to live their lives the best possible way they can without all this this extra bullshit on top. I can't. I'm just a straight guy, so I'm like 97% straight. I think maybe everybody has an occasional moment, but I don't even understand why. Why does it matter if it doesn't affect your life personally? Like politicians, why does it matter who they love, who they have sex with, what they want to look like? If it doesn't affect them, like leave these people alone. Like it's hard enough to live a normal life, and these people just want to be free and live their lives as best they can. That's it. Period.
right. Well, and whether we're talking sexuality, whether we're talking, gender, whether we're talking race, whether we're talking religion, whatever the case may be, the politicians, they want to say that there's something wrong with somebody that's different than them. And it keeps us at each other. I mean, there was an experiment that Oprah Winfrey did. She had a guest, Jane Elliott, that came on, and they did Brown Eye, Blue Eye, where talking about how, these people are not as smart and blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing how people jump on the bandwagon of this type of thing because they get to hate on somebody. All right. And I don't get why people want to hate on somebody, whether it's to make themselves feel better or whatever the case is. But
I think it's that. And I think a lot of it has to do with basic fear. They're just afraid of things they don't understand. I mean, just because they don't understand it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right. But anyways, let's go to this article that let's see. God, I can't even think here. There we go.
Dude, why'd you tell me to take my glasses off a long time ago? I look better on camera without my glasses on.
This is an article, and you can go to NOVONORDISKFONDEN.DK.
That's a lot to remember.
Anyways, it's the Novo Nordisk Foundation. Okay. And this goes over how there are women that are genetically men. Sex chromosomes usually determine whether you are a female or a male. Women are XX. Men are XY. However, genetically, a few women are actually men. They grow up as women with a woman's body and most only discover well into puberty that they are different. Danish researchers mapped for the first time how many women are genetically men. You cannot see it if you don't know what you're looking for. 1 in 15,000 males is born and grows up as a girl, and neither these girls nor their parents know it. Girls born with XY chromosomes are genetically boys, but for a variety of reasons, mutations in genes that determine sexual development, the male characteristics are never expressed. They live their lives as girls and then women, and a few can even give birth. Our research, which is the first nationwide survey in the world, shows that this group is up to 50% larger than previously assumed. How these girls discover the facts and talk openly about their situation also greatly varies. Together with colleagues, he is investigating why sex chromosome abnormalities occur and therefore how people with XY chromosomes can become women. Now, the thing that I don't like about this article, okay, is that they call it abnormalities, okay? They're saying that these different sexes are a disorder or a syndrome or an abnormality. But what they're finding out is that there's actually more people that they're given as a biological sex as they're born, because when they're born, it's they look at the baby and it's male or female. And that's what's listed. There's no DNA chromosome test to see exactly what the chromosome makeup is. Okay. So until there's problems or something later in life, that stuff's not even checked out. All right.
I mean, how do you identify something like that, though? I mean, it's, you know what I mean? As a parent, you're not going to, that's going to be hard to see until well into puberty or after puberty. I would think, anyways. That's when you start showing your like real characteristics. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's again as you're growing up and you're maturing into this world, and you're starting to realize that you think differently or you feel differently than others. Automatically, you're shamed for it, because in the world today, you're either one or the other, and there's no exceptions. When the reality is, as I'm going to share this next one, about XY variations. X and Y variations, also known medically as sex chromosome, and I can't pronounce this word, I'm not even going to try, involve variations in the typical number and type of sex chromosomes. Now, for those people that don't know, we have generally 46 chromosomes, which is 23 pairs from mother and father. We get, and they come together and form our pairs, okay? And the 23rd chromosome is considered the sex chromosome, okay? The typical number of chromosomes in each human cell is 46. These include 22 pairs of autosomes, which refers to all chromosomes that are not sex chromosomes, and a pair of sex chromosomes, either an X and a Y, which makes for a male, or two X's, female. That means the genetic signature for a person with 46 chromosomes is either 46XY, male, or 46XX, female. Now, there are variations. Now, again, they call this syndromes and disorders. There's a lot of other scientific communities that are starting to relabel as as biological sex. Okay. You have what was called Klinefelter syndrome, which is 47 chromosomes, XXY. Then there's 47 trisomy X, which is XXX. And then you have 47 XYY. okay, otherwise known as the Superman chromosome because it's got 2 Ys. All right. There's 3 more sexes right there.
Right.
Then you have your trisomies, which are 48 chromosomes, which is either XXYY, XXXY, or XXXX. And then
Jesus.
there are the pentasomies, which are 49 chromosomes, and it's 4 X's and a Y or 5 X's. All right. Now, each one of these have their own characteristics. So if you want to learn more about XY variations, start looking it up. Go to a lot of the medical and science websites and
Mhm.
start doing some more research on it. Now,
I
again,
think
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's unfortunately the problem. There's too many freaking people out there that just won't even look at the science. They don't care about the science. They think it's a religious thing or a
Right.
personal statement. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit about the science. And I think that's the problem with this country is we still have so many people that don't believe in actual evidence and proof that these things do exist, whether they want to believe it or not. They exist. Stop arguing with it and fighting it and just accept the fact there are things that you did not know yesterday. You know what I mean? Thanks to technology and science, though, we're able to figure these things out.
Yes, definitely. And right there, that shows you that there's 8 more sexes right there on top of the normal, what's considered normal, the 46 male and the 46 female.
I
Okay.
feel like I'm missing out. Like I was born 20 years too. I feel like sexuality these days is so much more open and there's so much more awareness and availability. People are a lot more open sexually these days than they were when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and
Which
right, and with today's political storm, they're trying to curb that. They don't like that on one side of the aisle.
they're
You know?
really, really not seeing the big picture when as far as politicians go, because this community is going to grow. It's not going to go away, whether they oppress it or not.
Right. Well, and
You know what I mean?
it's even much larger than that because as human beings continue to make more human beings, we're having a bigger mix of autosomes, which again, when you start breaking that down, this brings me to the difference between the autosomes. Let me get this tab up.
Man, I should have paid attention to science class.
What are autosomes? Non-sex chromosomes, which determine the traits of an organism, is defined as autosomes. They are also known as somatic chromosomes. Somatic chromosomes. Remember that word somatic. Since they determine the somatic characters of an individual, a genome mainly consists of autosomes. For example, human body contains 46 chromosomes within its genome, and 44 chromosomes of them are autosomes. The autosomes exist as homologous pairs, and 22 autosome pairs can be identified in the human genome. Now, there's a reason why I bring that up, and that comes to the somatic cells. And when you go into the somatic cells, all right, over here on the left, you have the germline, which is the germ cells of the 23rd chromosome, which is going to pair, which is going to determine XY, XX, XXY, XYY. Okay.
So on, yeah.
All right. So that's going to determine one of the 10 sexes. All right. Then your somatic cells. That has to do with skeletal and muscle cells, blood cells, stem cells, organ and tissue cells, fat cells, neuron cells, and all other cells in the human body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depending upon whether you get this from male or female, and there's a lot of studies that are going in depth on this, just like if your father has blue eyes, your mother has brown eyes. And the 15th pair of chromosomes is going to help determine the eye color. Now, both eye colors are in that pairing, okay? because you're getting from your father, you're getting from your mother. Now, what becomes predominant in you? The male or the female? The male or the female? The male or the female? So when you start looking at all of the organs, the tissue, everything that's in the human body, the hormones that are produced, though the 23rd pair sets a standard for basically like your testosterone and your estrogen in relation to your organs and how they're going to work. You're also going to have the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus gland, thyroid gland, all of these different glands and stuff that produce different hormones that are going to be a function of different chromosomes, which if you are a male and your pituitary gland and your hypothalamus gland are sending you signals that you are attracted to males, guess what you're going to be attracted to? Males.
Right.
Okay. You can't make that choice. Your body makes that choice.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, I can just tell you this is I've never struggled with, I guess, my sexual identity. I've never had that issue. I've been through, not knowing who I am and not liking who I am. I've hated myself. I've hated myself on the inside to the point where, it affected my life on the outside. It really did. So I get that. I think the big blowback right now that everybody seems to be talking about, because I don't honestly you don't hear a whole lot about, right now it's drag shows and transgender. That's all anybody's talking about. Drag shows and transgender. That's all you hear in the news. Right. States are banning basically costume shows with good music. That's all they are. You know what I mean? Their states are starting to ban them. And not even that. The things women are having to go through right now, there's states that are proposing to ban if a woman have an abortion, they're proposing the death sentence. That's insane. You know what I mean? And I think with the trans, because I have not me personally, but I'll talk about it since we're on the subject. My daughter at one point decided to transition. I didn't even know what it was at the time. And when I found out, I found out because I was watching the show Euphoria. And at the time, like I said, I've heard about transgender, but I never heard the term transitioning. So that's how I found out about what transitioning was. I was watching that show, and then it hit me that my daughter is actually transitioning, and she put herself on hormones. And yeah, it did upset me because I'm her dad. You know what I mean? I'm a single dad. I raised her for the last 8 years. And I think it hurt me more. She'd identified as gay for the longest time. So her identifying as transgender was this whole new thing, and she kept it from me. And I think that's what hurt the most, is the fact that I wasn't even involved in the conversation. You know what I mean? And so she put these hormones into her body, which is she's putting a buttload of testosterone into a body that produces predominantly estrogen. It messed her system up pretty bad. She ended up gaining a ton of weight. She was having health issues and ended up not deciding against transitioning. So now she got off the hormones and all that stuff. So I think I see as a parent why some people get upset because of body alterations. I think it can appear to be a bit extreme. But again, my opinion is, if it's not my body, it's not my life. You know what I mean? I have to worry about what makes me happy. And if somebody else wants to do that to themselves, and if that's what truly is what's going to make them happy, then let them do it. You know what I mean? Life is hard enough as it is. And to me, when I found out my daughter was doing that, I had two choices. I could be a complete dick about it and lose my relationship with my daughter, or I could support her, which is what I did as a loving father. I supported her in her decision because that's what a good parent does. I wish I would have been involved in the decision because I was more hurt, brokenhearted that I found out in the most effed up way possible, and found out months after she had already been doing it. So I think that's what hurt me the most, because I don't care who my kids love. I want my kids to be happy. And I know from personal experience, life will kick you in the nuts, metaphorically and physically, a lot. you know what I mean? And not knowing who you are or not being able to be who you want to be, I think has to be the worst prison possible for somebody to live in. You know what I mean? Having to have that constraint of not being able to express who you are. Why do you think I got braids at 45 years old? I don't care anymore. I want to express who I am on the inside. So now
Yeah.
I reflect that on the outside. My worry, which I talked to you about earlier, is younger kids and younger, not kids, but the younger generation. I worry that they hate themselves or they're just so unhappy with themselves, they're making an extreme decision that is completely life altering. And you can't go back once you make it to a certain point. So if you're
Right.
doing, as long as you are doing, please, if I can give you any advice, make sure you're happy with who you are on the inside before you start changing your outside, because you can't go back from it. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I think that's what a lot of people have issues with. But it's, again, it's not my body, it's not my choice. And if I had to choose between my relationship with my kid and supporting her, I supported her. I didn't even think twice about it. You know what I mean?
Right. But think about
I
this.
didn't make her. I didn't make her feel like shit about it. Like I didn't attack her for it. I mean, it's amazing how these people get treated because of just choices that affect them and them alone. They don't affect anybody else but themselves.
Imagine if people were treated more respectfully for how they feel. Your daughter may have come to you a lot sooner, but instead, because of the anxiety, the fear of acceptance, and all these
Mhm.
things that exist culturally, people are afraid to talk about even the people that they love the most, their family,
Yeah,
because
that's
the fear of rejection, the fear of not accepting that I know this, and I really want people to think about this. Okay, when you feel differently than what society deems as acceptable, okay,
that's an awkward position. That's a weird position to be in.
how do you go forward with something that you know is going to be rejected? A lot of people are like, well, they're just making it up. It doesn't really exist. Well, I'm just showing you it exists. All right.
It does.
And
The science is there. It's there.
why would somebody, knowing that they're not going to be accepted culturally, choose to be that?
Mhm.
They're not. They
Right.
can help who they are. They're born that way, you
Right.
know? And I don't like the fact that a lot of these research, like the National Human Genome Research Institute, they and there's others, and
And
they
once they
use,
attach a label, you're right. Once they attach a label to it like that, it makes it
right.
almost a bad thing.
They make it like it's a defect. Okay,
Yeah.
um, it's not. It's not. This has existed. You can go back to the whole Zulu warriors, okay, and how, and a lot of indigenous cultures, where they have two spirit, where male, female in one body, a lot of the different representations of it historically has been there, and they want to ignore all of the historical aspects of it. They want to ignore the science aspects of it, and then they want to label it as something that's not normal. When you start looking at what's in our society, just like that first one that I brought up and all that, talking about how there's a lot of women that are actually genetically men, but they don't even know it. So unless you've gone in and had a genome test to know what your chromosomes are, you are only presuming you are by how you feel and what you see.
Right. And
And
you're typically not even going to feel anything until you start producing your puberty stuff, your hormones and stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because,
and
until you hit puberty, I mean, you're just a kid. You don't know anything about hormones are a bitch, though. And with
yeah,
all the information out there, I feel bad for younger generation. I really do, because the
well,
amount of peer pressure online, the amount of misinformation and incorrect information out there, it's got to be hard to figure out who you really are these days.
yes.
You know what I mean?
I was having a conversation with someone about a month ago, bringing a lot of this forward, and I was asked, "Do you think food can change these things?" Because when you look at the foods that we take in, how a different foods can change the hormones produced by your thyroid, can change the hormones produced by your pancreas. Can food change your sexuality? Okay. Now, this is going more into the hormones that are generated that make you feel the way you do towards other people, what attracts you to other people, what attracts other people to you.
Yeah.
Do you think food could alter that? That's a good
Man,
question, and I would like to
I don't
see
know if
research on that.
I don't know so much if the food does, but I think the genetics of the food, because they make corn, they have a genetically enhanced corn that grows like I mean it's literally genetically enhanced. So they're altering our food on a genetic level. So I do think as we evolve, and the more they do that in industrial agriculture, because it's about turning and burning when it comes to industrial agriculture. They produce as much food as possible, and they have to grow as much food as possible. So they do whatever they can in order to make that food grow. Now they're gone to the point where they're actually genetically enhancing corn and other stuff to grow in harsher environment and harsher climates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that could be a possibility. I mean, there is research out there looking into it that I have not read up on, but I've looked into it a little bit in the past because of just I'm into renewable agriculture, not industrial agriculture is bad because in 20
Right.
years time, that soil that they've been spraying pesticides on, all that soil is going to be rotten in 20 years and won't grow a damn thing. So yeah, but I do think food and stuff like that can have and may have an effect on our genetics as human beings. And we're evolving creatures. I mean, as far as awareness, because we've as human beings, that was what made us human, was being aware. You know what I mean? Awareness was the key to being a human. And now, as we've grown as society, we seem becoming more and more aware. But some people, like we talked about our Get Woke special, our episode. I love that episode. Now awareness is a bad thing. Like people are too aware. You got to stop being so aware. Like before it was about becoming more aware. Now it's like, oh shit, they know too much. We got to stop this. We got to put a stop to it right now.
I know. And people are, oh, excuse me, didn't sleep good last night.
I slept like shit. I took a hell of a nap though.
People are hearing a lot of new terminology. Even I myself am hearing new terminology.
I am every day. I learn something new these days.
And
I mean, really,
people wanting to utilize pronouns. Well, we use pronouns every day. I, we, us, he, me, him, they, their. Okay.
First word of the Constitution is a pronoun. So this is
yes. Okay. So pronouns are being used. You basically can't write without using pronouns. Okay.
No.
And if somebody wants to be recognized, it's just like, no different than Mr., Mrs., Miss, okay, doctor. People want to be recognized for, who they are and how they feel about themselves. I have no problems with pronouns. There's a lot of people that are arguing about being called cisgender. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I actually do have a problem with pronouns. Not that people want to be called a certain way. I talk about it in my book. I think labels are a bad thing. Anytime you start labeling, it causes conflict within. You know what I mean? Like now, the pronoun thing is such a big deal, which is stupid. They're just words. They're just words. You know what I mean? And who cares what somebody wants to be called? Call them that. Let it just have some respect for your fellow American that wants to be called he, she, it, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You call me whatever. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Just have some respect for your fellow people. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Like if you don't call a doctor dude, you call him doctor. You have some respect for that person. You call them by their proper title. It's the same thing with people you meet in the streets. You have respect for them until they require you to not have respect for them, but you have respect for people and you call them how they want to be called. That's it.
Exactly. And people take value in that. And I know there's people that do have problems with the whole pronoun thing. I don't. I have no issues with it. there's also the different cisgender, transgender. People think that cisgender is a derogatory term. Let me explain what, again, this is about orientation, sexuality, biological, okay? Cisgender means cisgender, I was born male, and I believe I am what I was born, a male. If I was transgender, that means I would have been born with a male body and believed to be female. Okay. So that's the difference between transgender and cisgender. You're one or the other. You either believe you are who you are, or you believe that someone made a mistake, or genetics made a mistake, or something is different and you should be somebody else. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and if I say anything that comes across as offensive to people in the trans community, I apologize. Please feel free to
we don't.
me on my ignorance. I'm still, again, like a lot of people, we are learning as we go. So
keep in mind, though, we want to learn is
exactly
the big thing is we are open-minded enough to try and understand. And that's the whole point, I think, of our show is we're trying to be open-minded enough to have conversations like this to try and learn and understand and try and explain things to other people that also are a little bit ignorant about the topic. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then you have like sexuality. Okay. When I was growing up, I heard gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual. There's more to it than that. And again, through education, I've learned more about it. And all. There is, transsexuality. There is intersex, which is, again, going back to the chromosomes, that would be XXY. And you could be born with both, or you could be born with certain aspects of one sex and another sex that show different predominancies within the body. You are both sexes. And there's that, again, when you start looking at all the other chromosomes, there's that fluctuation in between. It is definitely a spectrum. It is definitely a spectrum. Those of you that want to say it's only male or female, do some research. There is actually a spectrum.
Why don't people understand there's more going on the inside than there is on the fucking outside of these? You know what I'm saying? Because internally, there's more going on a chemical level, on a cellular level, on the inside of our bodies. Like my brain doesn't shut off ever. You know what I mean? So people see the outside of us and they just assume immediately what we should be, even though they don't know us, they don't know anything about us. They just assume we should be this way. It's because that's how they are.
Well, it's part of the culture in this country. Okay,
hate is embedded in this country,
right? Well, we're brought up. First of all, we're brought up in these gender roles. Okay, if you're a boy, you play with cars and army men and tanks, and you go out, and put a stick in the mud, and you make mud patties. While you're a girl, you're supposed to play with your dollies and your little pretend ovens, and you're supposed to cook in the kitchen with mommy. That's a gender role that culturally is what is expected of our genders. Okay. That's, the man goes out and works. The man can't cry. The man can't be emotional. Well, the girl is supposed to be at home and is supposed to produce kids and is all emotional and everywhere and just can't keep her head on straight and needs mommy's little helpers. It's a bunch of garbage.
Okay. Those days are way, way, way over. Like, you cannot tell me hey, you're exactly right, though. Gender roles are ridiculous. Women can do whatever they want. Men can do whatever they want. I live on my emotions. I've discovered as a man that I am more than free to share my emotions. I love sharing emotions. And sometimes it gets me into trouble because it takes a lot to make me angry. But when I get angry, sometimes I react. And I don't like to be, I try to be proactive, not reactive. You know what I mean? But yeah.
As Elizabeth and I talk, and we'll be talking more in the Becoming Stoic and all that, men are actually more emotional than what women are because men are taught to bottle up the shit and not let it show. where women are more controlled with it because I'm sorry, they're just more stoic than what men are, quite frankly. But
I mean,
you
yeah,
know, all of this is culturalization.
it's also unhealthy though. Holding your emotions in
Yes,
is
yes.
about the most unhealthy, mentally, the most unhealthy thing you could ever do to yourself. I
Well, that's
mean,
why suicide rates are higher amongst men. Okay.
mhm.
Um,
Violence
Violence,
typically women don't commit a lot of violent crimes. The most violent crimes are committed by men.
right? And again, that could be related to the biological aspect. It could be related to the cultural, emotional aspect. I think it's a combination of all the above.
I think there's a
Um,
society aspect of it too, though, because society, I think, is breaking people right now. And I don't see it. And this is for all Americans right now. Like this is with the mass shootings and stuff. This stuff is tragic. Like it shouldn't be happening. And people are at uproar about the guns, but nobody's looking at the fact that people are breaking. They're getting to the point where people are just being completely broken by society. They
yes,
see no hope in a future, and this is what's causing people to do this. You know what I mean? Once you lose all hope, whether you're, it doesn't matter. Once you lose all hope, hope is like our
yes.
foods, the brain's reason to keep going. And I think in
Poverty,
America, there's so much oppression, poverty. Yeah, poverty.
homelessness, inflation, just all these different things that are going on. It's all
Unfair wages. I mean, it's
right. And then when you have all that stuff going on, and then you want to write laws that ban drag shows because it's just not good. I tell you, I've been to drag shows. All right. I've been to bars that have had drag shows, and can they be sexual? Yeah, in a bar. The drag shows that I've seen outside of that, no, it's just a good show that is family friendly. The mentality of one party over the other right now is just it's oh my god, you got one party that wants to ban everything, wants to take away all your books, don't want anybody to know anything about gay history, black history, slavery. You can't know these things because my white fragility just doesn't want it. And then you have the other side that is wokeism is good, but it's like, let's change this and let's make Hitler black. Let's make him a black gay male. Okay. You can't change things that, you know, aren't changeable. All right. When you're trying to make things more diverse when it doesn't apply, you're going the wrong direction that way. And this doesn't mean
I see what you mean. Like pushing woke a little bit too far.
yes. Being woke means you realize that there's these injustices and inequalities. And you, as a good, decent human being, are going to fight to eliminate these injustices and inequalities. But when you start taking it too far, then you're not serving the greater good of the problem. You're trying to make a statement, kind of like how Disney is hurting because they made all these different woke movies, and they're trying to make things more woke. That's causing an issue. And what we have to do is look at where the actual injustices are and fix those. And that's systemically. Okay. Denying people jobs, denying people benefits, denying people the ability to get married, denying the people to be themselves. There's where the problems come in. When you start writing laws that oppress, that's where wokeism comes in.
Going back to the drag shows, though, they're banning them, making them illegal.
Yes.
So that means somebody wants to do a drag show, they have to do it on the low. You know what I mean? They can't and risk going to jail just to have a good time and entertain people. That's insane. And it's not even about sexuality. It's just about people dressing in women's clothing. It's like it's not all drag queen, not all drag shows are all. I mean, they're not all drag queens are gay.
Some of them are going even further. Where I think it might be Tennessee, but I'm not for sure. There's a few of them that are passing state bills that if you are male and you're dressed as a female out in public, you can be arrested. If you are a female and you're dressed as a male and you go out in public, you can be arrested. If you are a female and you have on too much makeup, or you're a male and you put on makeup, you can be arrested. So they're taking it to such extremes that
It shouldn't even be laws. They shouldn't even be on the table.
they're unconstitutional.
Every time they pass a law or spend time on a stupid bill like this, they could be spending time trying to help Americans that are struggling every day and not worry about people that are trying to live their best life possible in this crazy ass country right now. It's got to stop. It has to stop at some point. I think we're getting to that point because awareness is becoming, it's not going away. Okay. Awareness in social injustice is just going to continue to grow. And I think we're going in the right direction, but I think we're going to have to go through a big old shitstorm before we do get to the right spot.
Well, we're going to, because first of all, it's an infringement on the First Amendment. Okay. The freedom of expression. If I'm more in touch with my feminine side today and I decide that I want to put on a mini skirt and wear high heels and walk outside with some lipstick on, I should be able to do that because that's how I feel today. And that's a violation.
How can they pass the law then? I don't know. At the state level, I don't understand it, because you're right. It's like back in the day when
it has to go to hip hop. It has to go to the Supreme Court to be ruled on as unconstitutional.
I can't believe it has to go that far, though. They shouldn't even be able to pass bills. But like I said, all this time they're spending on stuff that's eventually going to get shot down because it's ridiculous.
Well, you know it comes down to who has how much money and how far do they want to push it. Because if you feel like your rights are violated, you take it to court, and then bam, it goes from one court to the next court, to the state Supreme Court, to the federal Supreme Court. So, and how far do you want to take it? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the money to take it all the way.
You're right.
Yeah. So they're doing it and they're getting away with it. And basically, you got people like MTG coming out and saying, we need to divorce each other. We need to,
God. Did you hear
blue and the red need to separate. And
did you watch anything about the CPAC, whatever you want to call it?
I've seen some things on it.
She went on this transgender hate rant in front of people on the live audience. I mean, there was maybe only 12 people there, but it was the most pathetic thing of display of hate. And I don't know where she's going with this. Like, as a politician, does she honestly think, like, there's billboards in her own district asking her to resign? In her district, where she won by a landslide because it's predominantly white rich people or ignorant white people.
It's to divide. I want you to, let's go to the political side. Let's forget about the issues for a second, okay? It's about division. If they can create division and keep people arguing with each other, then the things that they actually have going on behind closed doors and the deals that they're making, the companies that they're supporting, all of that stuff, we're not knowing about that because we have these other issues that they're throwing out there. They're throwing these arguments out there for us to become further, more divided. And it's about getting reelected. So people that hate the gay community, the trans community, who hate women, who hate people of color, who want to build a wall because they hate people coming over the wall, even though
she hates everybody, though.
Immigration and people that overstay their visas. We're not talking about that, but
it's another episode.
Exactly. Creating these issues, it draws a line on it, whether you're on the left or you're on the right. And then it doesn't matter if you agree with everything that the left or right says. When it comes to the voting box, I agree with this thing, so I'm marking the R because I don't like those people. It's votes based upon hate, And
it is. But I think they're failing at it. I don't think it's going to work. I think that because their rants are becoming more and more irrational, more and more erratic, and they're honestly not even making any sense at this point.
Well, they're pushing independents like myself over to the left. Okay.
Yeah, I would not even consider voting Republican right
I'm
now.
an independent. I will not vote for anybody on the right. I will
No.
not vote for anybody on the right.
No.
I am going to vote a
No.
straight blue ticket now.
I cannot.
I
I
don't care
cannot
who it
stand for
is.
hate. I can't. No.
Yeah, and I don't care who it is now. Where before I was really, really picky about who I would vote for. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I was really picky. And now, with what the right is representing, I will never vote
No.
for the right with this mentality. Won't happen.
No.
I will
I don't know if
strictly
that.
vote a blue ticket. Period.
I
don't care
think
how
they've
bad it
destroyed the
is.
party. I think they've destroyed the party for good. I don't think there's coming back for the GOP on this one. They've got the wrong people in place that are going to bring everybody down.
What it's
There's
going
people
to
that
do,
know,
I
yeah.
want you to think about this, Jeremy, because here's what it's going to do. All right. First of all, it is creating the vision that I'm talking about. We are going to find out if there's more people in this country that support racism and bigotry and xenophobia and all these other hate, aspects. The people that
2 years
support
from now.
hate, people that support this hatred are going to jump to the right. And the people that are absolutely against this hatred are jumping to the left. And we are going to see what our country is. The world is going to see what our country is. Is it a country of hatred or is it a country of love and unity?
Exactly. Because that was my whole purpose for writing my damn book was love and unity, man. It's got to stop with the anger. And we've got to stop allowing people to tell us who to be angry at. You know what I mean? Stop letting people make your opinions for you and start thinking for yourself. Stop listening to the news. Stop listening to these online hate mongers. I mean, this is not how society is going to end up. Okay. As hard as they want to try, because the younger generation is not going to support this kind of behavior. That's why they don't want 18-year-olds to vote anymore. That's why they want to change voting age to 21 is because they don't want the younger generation voting against them in the primary. And they know they're coming out in droves this time because that's what lost them the midterm is the younger generation coming out and voting against them.
Right. And what's going to happen is this is, in my opinion, the last stand for the right. They're either going to get their hatred and everything out there and they're going to take power. And once they do, you can just kiss our whole government goodbye. I mean, they're already looking at basically abolishing the Constitution.
And the things they stand for are completely against what the Constitution says.
Yes.
And then you got dumb Americans going, "Oh, bravo, bravo, get out of here with that."
And I know there's going to be people out there saying, "Paul, I'm on the right, and I love the Constitution." It's like, then read it.
Yeah, because I get 36% of Americans know very little about the Constitution. The rest know nothing.
Exactly, because Republicans presented a bill. It's I forget what it's called, but in a recommitment, and it's about redefining socialism and that we have to outlaw all policies in this country that are socialist. All right. And even Democrats voted on this. Okay. And what they don't realize is that if you eliminate socialism, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution states that Congress has the right to lay and collect taxes, duties, excises, imposts. That's socialism, which means no taxation. And if there's no taxation, there is no government, because how are our government officials paid? Through taxation.
Yeah. Well, aren't all like welfare programs, Section 8 programs, those are not capitalist programs. Those are socialist programs. I forget the exact term for it. I looked it up because I had to blow somebody away online because they were arguing with me.
Infrastructure is all socialistic programs. The police are socialistic programs. So our military is a socialistic program, because our tax dollars is what pays to have a military, which means if we ban and outlaw all socialism, we don't have a government, we don't have a military, we don't have police, we don't have infrastructure, we have nothing. our government will collapse. And trust me,
Then
corporations will be the first one to challenge it in the Supreme Court, saying, you said no socialism. I don't have to pay taxes. Taxes are socialism.
Yeah, this is that I firmly believe that there are people in Congress that have never read the Constitution completely. I honestly believe that now. I thought maybe you'd have to read it as a prerequisite, but apparently you don't even have to have a full background check in order to get in the Congress anymore. It's insane, but yeah, what's going on? I mean, what's going on in the government is never going to work. This whole hate, it's extreme right. Like the people, this country has become a country of extremes. Okay, either you're gay or you're straight, or you're man or you're a woman, or you're a Christian or you're an atheist. You know what I mean? Everybody is so far gone on the right and left that we need to bring people back to center. There is a center. There's a better way to do all this, and we're not being shown the way because we're being told what to hate and what to do.
People need to come back to common sense, logic, and deductive reasoning. All right. Why do you think they're banning books in schools? Why do you think they're making these, basically don't say gay bills, passing all of this stuff in schools? They want to eliminate public schools. Do you realize how much tax money goes towards education?
A lot.
Okay. So if you eliminate that taxation burden, how do you do that? You eliminate schools. So the objective is to eliminate public schools and make it all private, which means if you're poor,
you can't go to school.
You can't go to school.
That's crazy.
What they're really doing. You might say, Paul, now you're being a conspiracy theorist. Am I?
Oh no! Here's another one that people don't believe me on.
Legislation that's going on. Look at what they're doing.
It's like abortion laws. People don't realize, these pro-choice people don't realize, if they ban abortion across the board for every reason possible, that means miscarriages can be classified as involuntary abortions, and you can be held accountable for your actions leading up to that abortion. Involuntary abortion, but it's still technically an abortion. An abortion is an immediate change of course. So if you're pregnant and then you're not pregnant, that is technically an abortion. Whether you liked it or not. That is technically true.
Here's what the right doesn't realize. Google how much hysterectomies are going up. More women are getting hysterectomies.
Why?
Because they don't want to risk having a child.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's kind of brutal.
Can't get an abortion, so I'll just remove the parts that produce the child.
Hey, yes, but that's not fair at all. God, when you say it out loud like that, that is just not fair to make somebody choose like that.
Well,
how is that even? I mean, there's got to be basic human rights at this point.
We have a party that has taken away a health option from women. So women are utilizing a health option that's still there.
Yeah, that's tough. That's brutal. And they're not going to eliminate abortion just by saying you can't do it anymore. I mean, even before they did it, I mean, they used to do it at home back in the day. I mean, it was pretty gnarly back then, but now it's a lot safer. But I can't. It's just not fair to make somebody have to choose between not having a kid ever or having an abortion, or a chance possibly having to need an abortion. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Right. Well,
isn't there a woman? There's somebody now in a state that the baby's going to be, it's some kind of life-threatening thing to the baby, and she's not allowed to have an abortion because of it. The laws, she can't have an abortion, even though it would be medically necessary. You know what I mean? That's harsh. That's awful.
Now think about this. There are states that are trying to write legislation to ban contraception, birth control methods. Okay. Again, if you're taking away women's right to choose, what are they going to do?
Go with whatever options are available.
Exactly.
That's Hopefully it doesn't come to that, because I don't think. Hopefully our current administration won't let it come to that, but there's got to be a federal legislation. They have to do a federal legislation on this. They cannot let this ignorant state legislators decide this. This is too big of a choice to lay up to a couple of state legislators.
But we have a Supreme Court. We have a Supreme Court that is riding the coattails of it, and they're going to fall in line with all of the. Again, it's so infuriating at what our government is allowing to happen in this country. And it comes down to the only thing that the people truly have is the ability to vote the right people out and the right people in. Mm-hmm. And they are taking away even that option at every extreme. In Florida, they got a bill where they're trying to eliminate the Democratic Party.
Yeah, there's a bill in Florida right now that they're trying to ban dogs hanging their heads out of the window of moving cars. I shit you not. I'm like, what? And this is taxpayer time and money being spent on a bill about dogs having their heads out of windows. So you could get a ticket if a cop sees you driving down you're taking away like the one great joy of a dog's life, but hanging the head out of the window. Come on. But that's Florida is going out of their minds right now. What is going on? And like we said in a previous episode, if people don't think if Florida's an isolated case, DeSantis is running for president. I don't know if he'll make it to that point, but imagine that on a federal scale, the amount of oppression that's going on in Florida, because it's not going to stop with books and drag shows.
It's the guideline.
It's
the guideline that
DeSantis is setting
up. DeSantis
is just the
setting
beginning
up what he's going to do when he becomes president.
This will be a national disaster. You think Trump was bad? Oh my God! I can see internment camps under DeSantis. I can see camps of people waiting to be deported. I mean, we're talking World War II Germany type ideas here. This is not even an exaggeration. These are like Nazism ideals.
Yes.
That they're trying to display in America. And they're openly talking about it too, like it's no big deal. Like, no, that is not going to be how America ends up. That is not what we stand for. We are not about oppression.
I know.
We're supposed to be about freedom.
And Jeremy, I hate to say it, where you go, that's not how America is going to end up. There is a chance that it could.
There is a chance. There's a chance. But I think, I believe that more people would come out. If this gets any bigger, I think it's going to drive more people with the rational thoughts, the logic, people that look at actual evidence, and those people are not going to fall for this hate. Yes, there's a lot of hate in America, and these politicians are proving there's still a lot of hate in America. We got a lot of work to do if we're ever going to be a country of peace, love, and acceptance.
Yes.
But I think we can get to that point. But people got to get it out of their head that person has to be like me or I hate that person. That's not how life works, man. Just calm down, smoke some weed or something, and just start loving other people instead of hating everybody, because hate is all consuming. You hate all the time. When you hate, you're angry a lot. Like, why do you want to be hating? Why do you want to be angry all the time? Just let it go. Just accept the fact that people are different, but that's what America's about. We're a nation of immigrants built by immigrants for immigrants. That was the whole purpose of America. So it's different people exist in America. That has been since the beginning of America. Accept it.
Now, if there's any doctors out there that really know, that specialize in genome research, I would love to have you as a guest on my show. And I want more than one, because I want both sides of it. I want to hear what your thoughts are for and against. So if you have something to say on how the whole system works, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a specialist. I didn't go to school for any of this. It's just I hear so much about it that I started doing a lot more research, and
that's what happened to me too. The more I hear about it, and It's funny that the extreme right, like we talked about before, doesn't realize they're doing this, but they're actually making people more woke by constantly attacking these subjects that normally we probably wouldn't even know much about or know anything about. But like you said, the more you hear about it, you're like, why does everybody keep talking about this? Then you
Yep.
look it up.
And Republicans, you get a chance, you're banning books. Please ban this one. I need more sales, so
Yeah.
please ban it so that
Mine too,
everybody will
please. I
buy
don't
it.
have a copy, so
Yeah. So
I sent all
ban
my
it,
copies out.
ban it, please ban it so that it'll sell more. Get me some notoriety. That way I can get up there and talk to people about what we need to do to fix this country.
That would be nice.
Yes. Obviously, read my book. I talk about taxation, what we need to do to get a universal basic income, universal health care, universal education, things that we need to do to make our country smarter, wiser, more knowledgeable, more productive, more predominant. Eliminate homelessness. We can eliminate homelessness. We can eliminate poverty. All these things can be done, you know, in this in my lifetime. I'm 54. The remainder of life that I have left, it can be done. Just a matter
I
of
believe it too.
it's just a matter of getting the people together to fight for it and get it done. It can be done. We can abolish systemic discrimination. We're never going to get rid of racism and bigotry and all that stuff. That stuff's always going to exist because we have people like MTG and Boebert and McCarthy and Gates and all those people out there that are pushing and promoting this stuff. And again, I would bring up the people on the left that are doing it, but I don't know of any on the left that are doing it right now, and I don't like either side. Just remember that. I don't like Democrats. I don't like Republicans. They're all corporate politicians. But if I knew of people on the left that were haters like we have on the right, I would point them out. But I'm not seeing them. And you're going to I know people are going to be like, well, AOC and Cori Bush and Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh, they're amazing.
Show me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Show me. And if you can show me, I will get on board with it. But show me, because I see them talking about the opposite.
And I see them talking about stuff they know about, okay? They actually know what they're talking about. When Boebert and people like MTG and Matt Gaetz spouting off stuff out of a Chinese newspaper, thinking it was an American newspaper. He had his Democrat on the hot seat. And he's like, hey, are you aware of this article written on this paper? And the guy was like, you mean the Chinese paper? And he looked down and goes, no, I mean, well, yeah. He had no idea. He was trying to put this guy on the hot seat, had no clue. He was using Chinese propaganda to try and attack a Democrat. It blew up in his face. Every investigation they've done, everything they've tried to attack has blown up. The Twitter investigation blew up in their face. Like they have no platform right now. There's no way. The Republican platform is hate, banning stuff.
Yes.
Oppression. That's all it's about right now.
It is. All right, everybody.
We're out of time.
Yeah, we went beyond, but that's okay. I don't mind going over, especially when the conversation is good. I find a lot of this ignorance in our country to be very, very frustrating, and
extremely frustrating.
I communicate with a lot of people. I talk with people both on the left and on the right. Remember, I interviewed Joe Walsh on here, a Republican congressman. Joe's a very good guy. I really like Joe. We may have things that we disagree on policy wise, but Joe is a good human being, and he wants things, done right by people. Like I said, I may not agree.
He's not an extremist Republican. He's just,
No, he's a good human being, and like I said, we have policy differences, and we can sit down and talk about them. Whereas half these other people that are out there, you can't talk with them because they got to push
irrational. Completely irrational.
Exactly. So
you can't reason with an irrational person.
Exactly. Joe, I'm going to reach out to you and all that. I need to get you back on the show again. But anyways, remember everyone, be kind, be happy, and may some good things come your way. Thank you.
See you next week.